We are going live. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we may be live. Can somebody verify for me if we are live on the Moscow Photographer channel and also on Wild Siberia? Somebody check. Somebody make a comment. Post a comment if you can see this live stream. Welcome to the live stream. We're good?
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, we're good. I'm live on this one as well.
Awesome. Welcome everyone to this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening in Siberia. I am Eddie Gonzalez, the Moscow photographer, coming to you live from Moscow, Russia. I have two amazing guests for my live stream today. I would like to introduce you to Daniel Bosworth. Daniel is a veteran, I should say, of expats. He has been living in Moscow for 12 years, and he has a brand new YouTube channel called Moscow Settlers. There's links down in the show notes for all of that information. We got so much to talk about today, so just chill out. But I got one Dan. This is Daniel, and then I have another Dan. I have Mr. Wild Siberia himself. This is Dan Castle. Most of you, hopefully a lot of you, will know who Dan Castle is. If you don't, you've been living under a rock, man. You've been living under a rock. Dan moved to Russia recently within the last couple of years, and he's going to fill you in with all that good stuff, man. But anyway, hola, bienvenidos. I see Larissa saying hola. Hello, everyone. Здравствуйте for our Russian audience, and welcome. So, how are we doing, gentlemen?
You can go first.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great. No complaints. The weather in Moscow is beautiful. 23 today.
It is.
Yeah, just living and loving life. You know, I just got back. I played a beach volleyball tournament. For me, you know, sports is very important because it's like therapy for me. I don't think about reality and life and problems. You know, it's just 2, 3, 4 hours of bliss, just playing, and I'm in the zone. You know. And that then it's probably for you when you're destroying the building, right?
I feel like I'm sunburned a little bit. You know, I'm doing so well since this live stream started, but particularly like my life since I came to Russia, I'm all smiles. So I'm always going to be good. And it's always a pleasure being amongst other friends here, other expats. You know, I think this community is really important for me because in the beginning, before there was many people, it was really hard to get information, really hard to push information out. So these opportunities are really good for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
go ahead, Daniel.
You know, yeah, what Dan was saying, you know, I know life can be difficult for all of us sometimes, you know. What I do, what helps me is just I try to stay positive and, you know, smile and just, you know, try to think happy thoughts, you know, and just live my life. But what's important is to have friends like you guys, like-minded people. You know, we're thinking alike. You know, it's very important. Very important.
Diversity is good, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can bond together with your compadres, your compatriots together, yeah, it's really, really cool. And what you're talking about, a positive attitude, let me tell you, if you guys have seen my latest video adventure when I went to Armenia day before yesterday for a border run, I went woefully unprepared, man, because I didn't take any cash, any rubles. I just went with my Mir card because it worked perfectly when I went last October. Apparently, there's been, you know, some political ups and downs between Armenia and Russia, and the Mir card works sporadically. So I had taken a couple of bread sandwiches, samsa, as we call it. It's an Uzbek bread. And I took a couple of those just as a snack, just as a backup, as a plan B, because after living 59 years on this earth, I've learned you have to have a plan B.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case. Well, I did. I didn't have money, but I had a plan B for food.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but having a positive attitude, hey, we're going to get through the day. We're going to survive. I've got some sandwiches. I've got some water. No big deal. We can do this.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Hey guys, how many people do we have in our live, Dan?
I don't
Well, I
know.
got about,
See.
it says 94 for a combined.
I
So
see
that's
94
really cool.
right there. Yeah,
Went up to
good
99.
deal.
You know, I want to just steer this live in another direction that we were going to talk about. You know, for you guys who are watching, there's many types of expats, obviously, but what we have in common here is that we're all American. Us three are American. And I want you to recognize and see that we're different, not only in the way we talk and our accents, our age difference, our geography different. I'm from California. We can tell, you know, Eddie's from Texas and Daniel's from New York, or
New
where are you
York.
from? Yeah, so
Long Island.
Long Island, New York. And
Yeah.
what I love about that is that when people come here and you say, I'm American, I'm from the United States, you guys have to understand, the United States is huge as well. Not as big as Russia, but you're going to have different flavors. And this is what I kind of want to talk about. What kind of stuff did you guys see that was the same from where you came from? Let's go with that. And then we can talk about the differences, because obviously, well, what I lived through in California is not the same as you guys. So what is something that you guys really, really liked in Russia when you got here?
You know, let's start with Daniel, because Daniel has a unique story. And for those of you who don't know about Daniel Bosworth, Daniel, why don't you take this opportunity, let the audience know how you came to Russia, how long you've been here, and then we'll attack this question that Dan answered.
Okay. Hey, Long Island. I was born in Long Island. Gary Sean. Gary Sean. So my wife is Russian. We actually met in upstate New York. I went up one weekend to surprise my dad to visit. And that's when I met my wife. I went out to lunch with my stepbrother. We walked into a restaurant. My wife was working there. Now, my wife knew my stepbrother and his family, 4 children for 3 years. So I'm walking in the restaurant with my niece. She's like 6 or 7. I'm holding her. And she's like, I know her, but I don't know him. So I looked at her. For me, it was love at first sight, really. For me, it was love at first sight. I saw her and I said right away, I'm going to marry her. And a year and a half later, we married. We lived on Long Island together for 11 years. My son was born, and it was my first child. And as a father, I was researching to see how I can make it his environment the healthiest for him growing up as a child. And that's when I started going down the rabbit holes and the rabbit holes and the rabbit holes. And 6 months later, I looked at my wife and I said, we got to go to Russia. We need to move and raise our children in Russia. And my wife looked at me like, we both had good jobs, beautiful house on a lake, jet skis out to the sound around to the ocean. I mean, but we worked very, very hard. Long Island is very expensive, but you know, we had an okay life. We worked a lot.
What year was this? Just to put everything into perspective, what year did you meet your wife, and then what year was your son born?
We met we met 5 days after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
We met 5 days after 9/11. Yeah. So, and we're together 23 years. We lived on Long Island for 11 years. Like I said, my son was born, and I was researching, and I said, you know what, we have to leave. And my wife was like, okay. So I see a lot of this in Telegram chats. You know, now this was 12 years ago. We moved here 2012. We arrived on January 4th, 2012. Much different situation then. And my wife was working with JP Morgan Chase. So everything was done for us. Everything was paid. We were brought over here as expats. it's a different time now. And I see many people from the West, they want to come here. They want to get away from what's happening, but it's difficult now. It's a difficult process. It could be done, but it's just a different situation. So what I always tell people in the chats, come and visit first. If you can, come and visit first.
Yes.
And make sure, because look, I'm here 12 and a half years, and many people have come and gone. And COVID hit, they were running. The SMO started, they were running. And then I have Russians asking me, why are you still here? I'm like, what do you mean? This is my home. I'm not running. I'm not going anywhere. Where am I running to?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's very important, if you want to get away from what's happening in the West and come into a country that's, you know, where you can raise your children in a safe environment, a country that protects its borders, and just come and visit first. That's what I recommend, because it's not for everyone. You know, it's not for everyone. But that's my story. That's my story. We're living here 12 years. I did my temporary, I did my permanent, and I did my citizenship.
You've got the trifecta, my friend.
Yeah, I went through all the process, and multiple visas, multiple times. Every 6 months I have to leave. You know, I've done it all.
Absolutely. I know, man. And Dan Castle, tell us about California surfing, California
but
life,
I didn't answer Dan's question.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
I didn't answer Dan's question.
Let's get to that. So you're right.
For me, listen, I'm a Long Island boy. I grew up in a house with property, and so moving to Moscow was, you know, first time living in a city. So for me, I loved it. I was in a apartment building. We had 9 floors. I mean, I had so many people I could talk with, so many friends I could make, you know. On Long Island, you're on houses, you got fences, you know, like people looking over the fence. What are you doing? Here, I'm making friends with everyone. I'm in the lift. I'm in the stairs. I'm out on Plashatka, you know, the playground. I'm talking with everyone. That's what I love. I love being around people because I'm a people person. Every day I'm meeting new people. I don't care who they are, what they look like, where they're from. I want to talk. I want to know your story. I want you to know my story. I need to connect with people. That's who I am. And moving to Moscow, man, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is great.
I love that. I really love that.
That's awesome.
I feel the same. But my story in Russia actually begins like last month. I came as a tourist last year, and I stayed as a tourist. And a lot of people don't understand that I wasn't planning on moving to Russia. I had a 2-way ticket. The 2 years that I was here, almost 2 years, it wasn't definite. You know, I was steady with Ksenia as she was my girlfriend and everything. But I came in 2022 with a 2-way ticket. And only now, when I recently came last month, or I don't know, maybe 2 months ago now, only then I decided, and I told the world, and I told people on my YouTube channel, this is me moving to Russia. Because I've already been there, done that for 2 years, and realized that's what I want to do. I proposed to Ksenia. We're gonna get married in August. Like I'm going now through the steps. You know, yeah. It's like
awesome.
I would never consider the first chapter of my life in Russia me moving, because I was not sure. You know, I kind of felt in my heart. I said, okay, I can handle with this with the conflict. I can handle leaving every 6 months, but things are just rolling downhill. You never know when things are changing so drastically all the time. But then it came to me and I said, okay, I accept it. Whatever may come, we'll fight through it, Ksenia. We're going to go through this. So we bought a plot of land this time that we came back, and that's it. I'm going to, I tell people, I'm going to get buried by under this soil in this town. And that's me. That's my story. And it's only just begun.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful, Dan. Those of you who may know me, you probably already know my story, but I met my wife online. The way people meet nowadays. We met on Facebook at a Facebook group, not a dating group, but we did meet, and this was in 2017, July of 2017, and And let me tell you, um,
What was the group? Like bird watching or?
no, it was a group on esoteric and spiritual teaching. Yeah,
Whoa.
and it was a huge group. It's actually not even active anymore on Facebook, but at that time it had like over 20,000 participants. And I had just joined this group, so I was very active in it. And then I see Elena make a post as a new participant in the group, and I couldn't even pronounce her name because it was in Cyrillic. But her picture, it's the first time that I've ever felt this way. And I looked at her profile. Yeah, I scoped her profile, and I was like, I want to talk to this person. I don't know why, but I want to talk to this person. I had this overwhelming feeling that I could tell this person anything, and it would be accepted. So, long story short, we met within a few hours of that first interaction on Facebook. We met, or rather, we became friends on Facebook. We talked almost every day since then. And a year later, well, about 6 months later, I made a decision that I wanted to come to Russia to visit. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine coming to Russia for a visit. But I came in August of 2018, and almost from the very first moment that I met her in person and I met Russia in person, fell in love with both. Fell in love with both.
Yeah.
When I went back to Texas that first time in 2018, Texas felt like a foreign land to me. I don't know if you felt like that, Dan, when you've gone back to the States. It's just like,
Can I just can I tell
yeah,
you what?
please.
When I get back to California, I made a live and I was looking on the street.
I watched it.
It felt like I got dropped off in a place that I've never been in before. And I'm just like, no, I'm rolling. I'm looking like, what's happening? I'm sorry, but that's how I felt.
No,
I felt
absolutely. That's exactly how I felt. Fast forward, I retired from my 27 plus year job, and was now ready to make a change, drastic change in my life. I asked Elena for her hand in marriage. She accepted, got ready to move here, and then COVID hit. Then we get passed through COVID, and then I came back once again, and SMO hit. And so this introduced a lot of sanctions and a lot of problems for Americans, Westerners in general, here in Russia. So I had to go back to Texas, take care of a few business loose ends, and then I finally moved here permanently in May of just last year. Got married in February, applied for temporary residency. So now I'm starting my trifecta, temporary, permanent, and citizen. So, and then Dan's about to start his trifecta as well, pretty quick.
It's thanks to you, guys. Look, guys, if you don't know, like when I was in Mexico, going through my like my penance, paying penance for the world in Mexico, getting my new Russian visa, I wrote to Eddie. I said, "How do you do it? How do you get married?" He told me everything that I needed. I brought every paperwork that he told me, and I'm basically getting married because of the information that he gave me.
Super.
This is, by the way, Daniel, you got married in America, right?
My wife and I, we married in America. Yep.
How does the paperwork, how was it easy? Did she become, or she was already American citizen, or how did that go?
She had her green card
Oh.
when we married. Yep. And then we applied for her citizenship. And it took a little while because there was a stipulation. My wife came to America on a 1-year student. What is it called? What is that program called? 1-year exchange student.
Oh, okay.
So when she came and it ended up being her last year in high school, and she graduated number 1. So they gave her a 2-year scholarship at a local college.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't come back home. She went to college for 2 years. Then she decided to take a break from Albany to go to a 4-year university in Albany. She took a semester off, and that's when we met.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
But it took a little longer with us to get her citizenship because she was supposed to go back to Russia for like a year or two, and then she, so we had to hire a lawyer and go through the process, and
this is why I don't want to even try it to get Ksenia American citizenship. The day we marry, I called the day we signed the paper to choose the date. I called the Mexican embassy in Moscow. I said, "What can you do for me? I'm going to get married here. I'm a Mexican citizen." They said, "Just come to Moscow and we'll give her residency." I said, "Do I need to make an appointment?" They said, "No, our work hours are from 9 to 5 and we'll do it on the spot."
Right.
I can't imagine America saying, "Okay, we can help you. You've married." This is the thing that
no.
Let me explain to you just briefly what's happening with Mrs. Moscow photographer and myself, because I'm trying to get her just a visa to visit the United States, not to move, not a green card. You cannot apply at the Russian embassy, rather at the American embassy here in Moscow. It's closed. There's very limited services for Americans here in Moscow. So we have to go to another country to file there. So one of the countries we can do this is Armenia. Largest U.S. embassy anywhere on foreign soil is in Yerevan. So we made application through a third-party service. Guess what? There's no slots available for an interview because she would have to be interviewed by an immigration officer. There aren't any slots available until February of next year. Can you believe that?
Right.
So they make it difficult. Go ahead.
It's so frustrating for me as an American citizen, a veteran who served the country for 4 years, and and we pay taxes. How many countries make their citizens pay taxes when they live abroad? Two, and U.S. is one of them. And now I have friends who are Brits. You know what? They go to their embassy in Moscow and they do the fingerprints right there at the embassy. All these countries that have their embassies in Moscow, it's easier for their citizens to do things, to get the fingerprints, their intelligence background check, right? Their security check. Why is it that the U.S. embassy, even before the SMO, it's so different? I have to mail my prints. I have to do fingerprints in Moscow at an international organization, then pay and mail it, and then to a company in the state. When other citizens from countries that are much smaller, less people, not as powerful, can just go in and whoop, give them their fingerprints. Explain to me, you have to go to another country.
I'm going to weigh my 2 cents in. And of course, I have very strong feelings about this. And that is that because of this Russophobia that is so alive in the West, and especially in the United States, I feel that the American government is ashamed. They're embarrassed by us, by American citizens who moved to Russia, to live here in Russia, and then we criticize where we came from because what? Well, we do have the First Amendment right, obviously, to speak our mind. But as an American, I'm looking at Moscow right now and just say, why can't we have this in the United States? Why can't we have clean roads, no graffiti, calm, law and order? Why can't we have that?
Can I play the devil's? I'm going to do the devil's advocate because people always say, "Oh, why are you calling out the things that are bad in America? Yeah, this happens in every city." No, it doesn't. Dum-dum. It doesn't. There's no reason why LA should be rotting. There's no reason why San Francisco should be rotting. So when you're saying you're in Moscow and you've seen these things, yeah, why can't we have them? It's
absolutely. So I feel that. And I say this all the time, the United States government didn't sanction Russia or Russians. They sanctioned American citizens living in Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I came in 2022, I noticed that Ksenia's life, when we started going steady, I was like, wait, her life is not bothered at all. Everything that's Russian is not bothered by the sanctions. The only problem is me. It's me. Like, I have the issues here. So
Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
Hey guys, I want to post a question. Maybe we can get to this question, but I thought it was very, very interesting. And RK says, my question to you as Americans, as you are now away from the USA, what do you miss from America most? If not from nowadays America, but maybe from America in the past. I believe USA is a great country. Who wants to take a stab at that first?
I'll go first because I have not been back to America in 5 years this summer. Not by choice, but what I miss, my family, my mother, my sisters, my cousins, my uncle, my family. Country, America, it's not the country that I know growing up. Unfortunately, America has changed a lot. It's a beautiful country. Many people are nice people in America, but unfortunately, the establishment that's running the country, and I think they're drinking too much of the punch because all right. So you go through the airport, right? You have the TSA and they're checking you and they're checking their bags and it's like crazy, right? To get on. What's going on with the borders? Like the doubles, I can't understand this. You go through the TSA, it's strict. The border's wide open. People are just flying, just coming in millions and millions and millions over the last 3 years, right? Like what's going on? Like I remember where I was working, there were a lot of immigrants working, a lot of illegals, and a lot of times they're standing in like groups of 100 by 7-Eleven. They're being ready waiting to be picked up for work. And here you got a police officer pulling over a guy who made a right on red or went through a red light and giving him a ticket. But as he's doing that, there's 100 and 150 illegals standing across the street that he can't do anything about. The question is, why does the federal government not allow police officers, state police or cities to arrest illegals that are here or to check documentations? Listen, I was an immigrant in 4 different countries. All right. I lived in Germany, Switzerland, I'm in Russia, and I'm American. I was legal in all of them. I paid taxes in all of them. I abide, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I try to mix into their culture and fit in. I'm not against people wanting to live a better life moving somewhere. There's nothing wrong with that. But tell me, how is it possible where I'm watching a guy get a ticket, an American getting a ticket, but there's 200 illegals standing right across the street, waiting to be picked up, and that cop can't do anything. I mean, Americans got to start asking questions. They got to start speaking and talking to their politicians and asking questions. What's going on? What's going on? Because the money that I spent with a lawyer, and it took 2 years to get my wife her citizenship. And the loops and hoops that we went around, and then here you got millions coming in. Like, as an American citizen who's a veteran and served my country, it's not a good feeling.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I agree with that. And especially, I lived on the border, and I worked for the state police, Texas DPS. We had a large operation dealing with the Texas border with Mexico. And I mean, this is near and dear to my heart. So when you talk about immigration issues, you're absolutely right. You go through TSA and you go through 3 or 4, 5 different security checkpoints, checking your passport, checking your ID. But at the border, there are no checks whatsoever. And this really chaps my hide. It's a sore point for me. But you have to ask yourself, why does the government allow this to happen? Because as an American citizen, as Daniel just said, I take offense to this because you're not making me feel secure in my own home country if you can't secure the border. So how do I feel as a parent? And my children are in this country as well. They're not safe either. So yeah, the immigration problem in America is not a problem, it's a crisis. And there's people in government who fundamentally want to change the United States of America, and not for the better. Not for the better.
I think a lot of it too has to do with getting votes.
It's the twilight zone. It's the twilight zone. I honestly, for me, I'll answer the question. What I miss is just my mother and my 1966 Ford Mustang. I miss my family, and I miss driving my muscle car. And as far as the things that change, Daniel was talking about, here we have to do the hoops and jump and do all these things, and these illegals are going through. As a Mexican citizen, I am so against illegal immigration. But I'll tell you guys, living in Mexico before I came back to Russia, I was looking at Chinese, people from somewhere in Africa, and you see them go through Mexico. Guys, Mexico has it's unfortunate that they have to be connected to the United States, because if it would have been anywhere else, they wouldn't have to be dealing with all these illegals going through. People don't understand that it's now a gateway country. So the people that are passing, it's not like the old 1990s Mexicans that are just going to go work in the fields. Hell, you guys are lucky. We're lucky if we have those now, because the ones that are passing now, if you see the videos, these people are not friendly. A Mexican trying to work, okay, he's illegal. I'm not going to say it's the right thing to do, but Jesus Christ, if you see the videos of the people that are passing now, it's like they're flooding the gates. And I've given up. I used to be worried about it, because I worked with a task force, JT4 or something. I helped build part of the border in 2000.
Joint Task Force 4.
I did a border mission, and as a Marine, I was out there building roads as an engineer and building the wall. And I remember thinking, I'm like, this is the right thing to do. I'm so glad that we're doing this. Why? Because I don't agree with illegal activities. This is one thing. I loved my country. I love my country. It's sad that it's in the situation that it is now, but now I don't care. I'm in Russia. There's nothing that I can do. There's too many holes in the bottom of that ship. If the ship shall sink, I'll be watching here and I'll give it a salute goodbye. But if it manages to come out of where it is now, it would be the biggest miracle of like modern times, because Jesus, it is crazy right now.
In some of the comments I see on YouTube, on one of my videos, there's like, oh, he's a traitor, he left America to live in Russia, he's a traitor. No, I'm not a traitor. I'm a father who has to do what's best for his family and protect them. And I was blessed enough 13 years ago to know that when my son was born, unfortunately, America's not the place where he can be raised. So I'm not a traitor. I love America. I'm proud to be an American. I'm not proud of the situation now in the current administration, but I have to do what's best for my family. And that was moving to Russia, to a country that is strict with immigration. I had no problem going through the process. I mean, it was a pain in the butt. And I had to redo applications, filling out applications here, forget about it. It's like one mistake. And if you sign your name and you go underneath the line, the guy gave me a stare like, nope, do it again. My wife hit me. He's like, Daniel, because I have a signature and I go crazy. And my wife's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So they're very strict with the paperwork and the process. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay, because I have no problems if they stop me in the metro and they ask to see my identification. I have no problem. this is the way it should be. You want a safe country where you can raise your children and have a family and have a life and keep your culture and your religion and have peace. Borders have to be closed. Immigration has to be tight. That's it.
I made a video
I like it too.
a couple of weeks ago because I recently made application for my temporary residency permit. They accepted the application, and it takes about 4 months for the investigation to go through, and then you either grant it or you're not. Well, this is post, or actually I applied right before the terrorist attack that occurred at Crocus. Now, in light of that terrorist attack, there have been some monumental changes to the immigration structure here in Russia. So this may have been part of it. But about 2 weeks ago, a local police from the police from here in Moscow, in my area, came to my flat because he was tasked with doing a follow-up investigation for my temporary residency.
I love that.
They had some questions. They wanted to know, do I actually live in the address where I am registered to live? Am I a troublemaker? Am I abusing drugs? Do I abuse my wife? Do I, what kind of person am I? So they talked to me, they interviewed my wife, and they also interviewed my neighbors twice. They came back the next day to do that. And you know what? I applaud that. I applaud that 110% because it means that Russia cares about its borders. It cares about the security of its citizens and the guests that are in the country. Imagine that. So I have no problem whatsoever. You want to come check once a month? Come check once a month. I'm here. So, but yeah, why can't we do this in the States? Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that when we compare directly, it's a little bit unfair now because America has been so downgraded. You know, you can't expect a fifth grader to start talking about chemistry and geometry. I feel like America is, and this is going to offend some Americans, we've dumbed down as a country. So now,
this is the agenda. This is the agenda. I mean, of course. Oh my Lord.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it sure is.
Our last trip back to the States was in 2019 to visit and to sell our house. We got off the plane and JFK, and we got on that tram that takes you to the LIRR, the Long Island Railroad. I thought I was in another planet. I was like, I really felt like I didn't know where I was, and I felt very uncomfortable. My wife and I looking at each other, and we're like, "Wow," because it was, it was. We were back in 2017, and then we went back 2019. So, but yeah, it was so weird. It was so weird, and I was missing Moscow terribly.
Can you put the question where people keep asking, like, do we speak Russian? Do we speak Russian? Like the Russian viewers always want to ask, do you speak Russian? I have to learn Russian because I have to eventually take the Russian language test to get residency. But guys, if you're Russian and you're always kind of poking, your language is hard. Okay? Your language is hard. Yes, I will have to take classes, I have to learn, but just know that your language is hard. Eddie and I, we already at least speak 2 languages. Give us a little bit of merit there. I don't know, Danny, do you speak another language fluently?
No, English and Italian. My grandparents are from Palermo, and they immigrated to the States. My mom was born in the Bronx in the 1930s. I grew up, man, it's like you watch the Goodfellas movie. And I was born in the late 60s, so the 70s, the 80s in Astoria, Queens, in Brooklyn, the Bronx, man, it was run by the Italians. The Italians.
Loading.
Ruski язык очень трудно. It is very difficult language to learn and to master. I do know English, I do know Spanish, and because I know Spanish, the pronunciation of the words in Russian is very similar to the pronunciation of Spanish words. So this kind of helps me a little bit, but it's very, very difficult, but it is possible. And, so I can go to a magazine, which is a shop. I can, buy food. I can order food. I can talk to my taxi driver in my chopped up Russian. And sometimes the taxi drivers talk back to me in their chopped up Russian because Russian is not their primary language either.
Yeah.
And, but, we communicate, we make it happen. So give us a break. We're getting there. And you also have to realize that all three of our channels, our main audience, without any disrespect to our Russian viewers, the purpose of our channels is to illuminate the Western minds. So this is the minds of our compatriots back in the West. So we speak in English for that reason. One of these days, when my Russian level is a little higher, I would love to do a full video. I think you did one, Dan.
Yeah, I just did a short.
Yeah, you did a little short in Russian. I've done a short in Russian as well. Well, we'll do more of that for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for addressing that question.
Yeah, for me, I met my wife, in America, and we lived there, so we were speaking English. We moved to Moscow. I started with a tutor. So my wife and my children are fluent, bilingual in English and Russian. My Russian is good enough, I'm not taking exams. I'm not in university. I don't really need writing and grammar that much. I just really need speaking and understanding, and reading. That's what I do. But I teach English. I'm an English teacher, now 12 years. So my day is full of English with my students at home. It's comfortable English at home with my family. My wife speaks Russian and English to the kids, but the kids love speaking English with me. So I need to practice more. And when I do try to practice, I'm always meeting people at a football game, a hockey game. I'm playing volleyball today, and I'm like, "Здравствуйте, меня зовут Daniel. Как вас зовут? Oh, where are you from? New York. Speak English, please. I need to practice."
Yeah,
that's every time.
I meet Russians like that too, and I'll speak Russian to them. They speak English back to me.
You guys are I would say you guys are a little bit lucky in the sense that if somebody wants to communicate, they could speak English. I am in the boondocks. It is a miracle if anybody could even say hello, and I'd be like, "Здравствуйте." Like, they know me as the American around here and everything, and they're trying their best to speak English, but I'm always like, just speaking a little bit of Russian, and all I get is hello, and there's nothing of English here, nothing.
And that's a good accent, Dan, by the way.
The little kids would be like, hello, как дела? Los Angeles, хорошо. Like, Los Angeles.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
Yeah, but it's funny. I learn a lot of Russians with my school. I have a lot of students who are school kids.
Yeah.
So I learn a lot because they're at my level. They're Russians at my level. But
gosh, man, it's crazy.
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
but I try. I'll ask questions. I'll say, I come out of the metro. I go, "Извините, пожалуйста, скажите мне, где Спирбанк, or где Magnolia, or где парк?" you know,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and they'll say, they hear my accent, they're like, "Откуда вы?" Yeah, it's New Yorker. Can we speak English? You know, always. Digda, digda, always.
Sasha, and it's like, oh, Sasha, you know, it's like,
I'm
Yeah.
so bad. I can understand way more than I could speak. And it's mostly because when we go out with Xenia, she's speaking with everyone, and I'm just listening. So yeah, I think I also don't tell people how much I know because I sometimes hear people speaking about me or saying things, and I'm just like, okay, you think you're gonna trick me? I know we're
Mhm.
going to here, and I wanted to go there. So I'm like that little mute guy.
But
Yeah.
for you guys, you know, learning like Russian, listening, reading, and new vocabulary. Just listen to Russian. It doesn't matter if you don't have to understand. You need to train your ears. Listen, read, and when you're reading, you're learning new vocabulary. Those three.
Yeah.
yeah, I do
Definitely.
watch
It's going to
some
help.
Russian programs just to listen to Russian.
Yeah, you have, you know, watch a TV series in Russian. You know, just get your, because I was teaching an opera singer, a Russian opera singer, and she can sing in German, Italian, French, Russian, English. She didn't speak all those languages, but her ears were trained. Her ears are trained and she can sing without an accent. Listening, reading, and vocabulary. Trust me. Do those three and you're going to learn Russian. Don't worry about the
Absolutely
grammar.
appreciate
Don't worry about the workbooks and the grammar and all that stuff. Grammar is later. Потом, later.
cases.
Я жил в Германии 3 года. 34 года назад. Right? I lived in Germany for 3 years, 34 years ago. Я говорил по-немецки после 3 года. Только just speaking and listening. No grammar, nothing. Just with my friends for 3 years, and I spoke German really well. It's called the immersion process. You got to immerse yourself in the language. You got to think in the language that you're learning. It's a must. You can't transliterate. You
know, Dan, I've always had a question that I wanted to ask Ksenia on one of the lives whenever she's on, but I haven't had that opportunity. Where did she learn to speak English?
University and school. She actually enjoyed, out of her whole class, I think she was one of 3 people who learned some vocabulary, some language. It's very rare, like I said, in this region for kids to learn anything. When you go to the university in Irkutsk, there's language schools and there's actually teachers there. But man, if you're growing up in a small town in Siberia, it's very rare that you're even going to pay attention. So she really liked it. She paid a lot of attention to it. And, you know, I'm really thankful that her level is where it is now, because if it was any lower, there's no way we could have a relationship, because I don't know, I'm a dum-dum, and you know, I don't have a lot of space left in here. I too was in Germany, and the Spanish and English, the Russian is really gonna. I've forgot so much of my German vocabulary because I'm thinking in a little bit more Russian now. So it's horrible. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But Alexi said, Olivier, you also got to love the language you are learning. You don't learn anything that you hate. Exactly. And this is how I teach my lessons. It's very important for my students to enjoy learning the language. You know, it's very important. You don't want learning a language to be like a chore, or that you hate it and you're like, oh man, I have a lesson tonight. Oh, I have to. No, you have to love it. You really have to enjoy it. It's the best way.
Good deal. Looking at these comments, guys, trying to find questions. If y'all see a question, highlight it.
Yeah, I can't comment. It says join the chat, but I don't know what I have to do to join the chat. Fight Back says, I'm learning Russian by watching movies and singing songs. Excellent. I sing songs and poems with all my students. It's great. It's great. Any questions? I taught English in Sweden, and many of my students refused to talk Swedish in my classes. Right. I only had to use Swedish to give them the Swedish word or phrase to help them to translate. Right. When I teach, no Russian when I teach.
The best food in Russia, my
you got
cooking. It. No, it's just the best food in Russia. This my good friend here. Yeah, the food, man, it's a big problem for me because I'm like Mexican and people might disagree, but like I love Mexican, Tex-Mex, Californian Mexican food. There's nothing better in the world. And then there's everything after it. So when I came to Russia, I felt like the food missed a lot of spice, like not hot spice, but like different things to add flavor. So Ksenia does really good cooking. So I would say anything she cooks is delicious. They're cooking right now and it smells delicious.
Yeah, I love.
No, go ahead, Daniel.
I love when grandma and grandpa come to visit because they cook. You know, they always cook. They love cooking, and I like spicy. I like spicy food. Everything I eat, cayenne pepper goes on it, or ajika goes on it. It's got to be spicy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, same thing. I love hot, spicy food. I miss guacamole, and just man, just some of those foods I just really, really miss. And I mean, fresh Mexican chorizo. In fact, I'm going to try to make my own here, just to see if it'll come close. But I don't know if I have the right spices for it. But yeah, if there's one food I miss from back home, it would be Mexican chorizo. But actually, the best food in Russia for me, believe it or not, is not really Russian.
It's Georgian food, baby.
And Uzbek cuisine. Yeah, because it's got a little bit more spice and a little bit different flavor. And so my favorite food in Russia is not Russian.
I don't care what any Russian says. The best food you guys have is not even Russian. And it's going to hurt them, but come on, like, you guys always like when I go out and eat, Ksenia's like, oh, let's go eat this, let's go eat that, let's go eat this. And it's not Russian. If you go to Moscow, there's like a Soviet restaurant. I'm like, ugh, what do you mean it's a Soviet restaurant? They cook typical Russian food. I'm like, no. Let's go to the Georgian place and get me some real food, man. Oh, hashipuri.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I love borscht. I love borscht with smetana and some dark bread with raw garlic and a little shot of samagon.
You probably eat blini with caviar too.
I have blinis. I make delicious blinis. I love blinis
with caviar.
Love blinis. Caviar.
Yeah, I don't like borscht.
Borscht, man. I go to in Moscow here. I go to the banya, and the chef there. I talk to him all the time, man. He makes a killer borscht, and he's got the raw garlic with this pieces of dark bread. But in the village, in the village with my friends, man. We have this open crock pot. We have a fire going. I can't send the picture, but we cook this amazing, and then we have some samagon, moonshine. It's the best. It's the best.
I was in the magazine. I was with Triochka the other day, local supermarket, and I see hot ketchup, gariachi ketchup. So I buy it. Okay, it's not even mild. The mild that you would have like back in the States, it is very, very extreme mild. It's not hot at all.
I miss that a lot. When Ksenia was in Mexico and I told her, listen, this spice is for babies. This is for like grown-ups. and this is for people who like spice. And I gave her the one was for babies. Like, Eddie, our babies are eating spicy. She was dying of the baby spice.
I
I'm like,
bet.
I told the guy, I was like, is there anything where we can water it down? And when you come to Russia, I had like a huge bottle of Valentina, and it's not even a spicy in tapatio, but like adding that to every soup that Xenia made was so delicious. It was amazing. My mouth watered.
Mm-mm. So some of the foods that Elena has learned to really like is Mexican corn. With the mayonnaise and the Parmesan cheese, and then we'll put the uh, paprika in it. Oh man, it's really really good.
Okay. The can you tell me, Daniel, like you mentioned it earlier how people call you a traitor and all that and stuff like this.
Some
I
comments,
Yeah,
yeah.
I also get that, but in my mind, it's like we should be called patriots because we're actually calling out the problems and we're showing people like this is perhaps how it should be, and it doesn't bother me anymore. But does it bother you at all if people like some people actually think this way?
um it doesn't bother me because I'm awake. I'm not a sheep following the herd, or I have my head in the sand. I'm awake to what's going on in the world, and I know I'm not a traitor. you know
Okay.
I just moved here to give my children a better life, and if that's being a traitor, well, I don't know what to say. I think a lot of that are just trolls, just people that are just, to be honest, maybe they're unhappy, maybe they're not happy in life with their life, and maybe they don't have the opportunity to leave where they're living, and they feel stuck, and then they just write things like that. The internet. Look, I only just started my YouTube channel. It's, for me, it was a big. Eddie helped me with my first video, and for me, I feel now that I'm a Russian citizen and I have my Russian passport. It's my duty. I feel now like it's my duty to show the world how it is, to live in Moscow, to live in Russia, to raise children, to work here, and I feel it's my duty. So that's why I started, my. I don't like social media, guys. I'm not on all these different social media platforms. But I said, you know what? I don't like what I'm seeing that's going on in many countries. When I have friends in Europe, I have family and friends in America, and what they're telling me, what they're being shown or what they're being told about Russia, and it hurts because my wife is Russian, my children are Russian, I'm Russian.
That's so
So,
true.
you know what I'm saying? So now it's like, you know what? I'm not a traitor. I love America. I'm proud to be an American. But it's my duty to show people, listen, what you're being told, what you're reading, what you're seeing, it's not true. It's not true.
Yeah,
You know?
that's the same reason that I started with my channel. Actually, I started on Facebook, just making small little videos and commentary, essentially for my friends and family back home, so that they would feel more at ease about my condition or what the conditions I was living under in Russia because of what the press was reporting in America, and then it evolved into a YouTube channel. But the way that I address these trolls, and I call them trolls, is like, look, come to Russia, okay? Get your visa, get on a plane, you know, put your your man's underwear on, okay? Take the panties off, and quit being a keyboard warrior, and come to Russia. And you walk around, you see it with your own eyes, and then let's meet. And then you can tell me your stupid comments to my face if you still believe the way you do. because I have a feeling that if you come to Russia, you come, especially if you come to, I can't say, well, Lake Baikal, that would be absolutely beautiful. But come to Moscow, St. Pete, or any of the other large cities and have a look around. And it will, as an American, it will radicalize you. You'll sit here and say, wow, why can't we have this in America? And if I had the ability, if the situation were different, I would want to return to the United States to try to change it. But I've made my life here in Moscow. So what do? How do I contribute to this? YouTube channel to try to educate and open the eyes of those of you still in the West, still in America, to see what Russia is really all about. But now, come visit. That's exactly what I say. Come visit.
Let me ask you a question. If the three of us were sitting in Germany right now, say we all moved to Germany and we were doing this live, do you think, and we were doing YouTube videos, right, from Germany, you think there's going to be anything called, you think we're going to be called a traitor if we were living, if we moved to Germany?
The craziest thing is this, that if, like you say, we were in Germany, but just put it even right now, I think even China would be safe enough to do it from China, from live. There's still even like there's China, and then right now there's Russia way off in its own league for some reason that the Americans are trying to pummel down. And this thing I was thinking about was like, okay, who do we hate the most? Because it's always the classic Iran, North Korea, China. And I made a video about how these people are always gaslighting its citizens. Like, we're always gaslighting them for the last since World War II. This is the enemy. This is the enemy. No, this is the enemy. No, that's the enemy. I can't believe that they chose Russia, the one country that rivals the America, like as a country with size and in its power. Why would you want to make an enemy of that guy? That's what blows my mind. You're a military veteran. If I would choose anybody in the world not to go to war with, not to be enemies with, it would be Russia, because there's no way anybody's ever going to conquer Russia. You have to conquer the elements. You have to conquer the proud Slavic people, the proud, what it makes Russia a whole group. Here in Siberia, these guys are warriors. And I'm going to go off on a rant about military, because living amongst these people in Siberia, and I tell people Russia is really Siberia, but living amongst these people, they're so strong, they're so proud, they're hardworking. These are warrior. This is a warrior culture that we're talking about. Why would we make enemies of these people? It hurts my heart that if my country were to go to war, and I've told it on my live many times, I would have to leave Russia. And because if we went to direct war, I would have to leave unless I had kids by then. Because right now, there's no way that I could watch these people. I would have to go to Mexico. It breaks my heart, but like, I hope it never comes to that. I know we're in a proxy war, guys, but like, I hope and I pray that we never have to go to direct war. I know it got a little bit dark, because then it's not going to be us talking here. It's going to be people in trenches. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's, growing up in my family, it was always, you don't talk politics or religion at the table, right? But guys, 2024, how is it impossible not to talk about politics? Because what is happening around the world, it's like, I really feel like we are, we're in a holy war. It's good against evil, right? We are living in some historical times right now. Many people don't even realize it. What's happening? What's going on? But it's impossible today not to talk about politics, because there's just so much stuff going on all around the world. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I find that many of the voices who promote war, the armchair, the keyboard warriors, have never left the United States. They've never traveled to a foreign country. And when you've traveled to a foreign country, the first thing you've realized is how similar as humans we all are. We all want the same things. We all criticize that we have to work for a living. I had to get up early in the morning. Everybody's looking forward to Friday because it's the end of the work week. You know, people just want to get together on a weekend, go somewhere and just chill and party. They just want their children to be safe and happy and well fed and have security.
That doesn't make you a traitor.
Everybody in the world is exactly the same. It's only governments that screw it up for people.
Right. People just want to live. They want to live. Exactly. They want to be with their family. They want to be with their friends in their community. You know, on Long Island, that's one thing I missed. Long Island was one of the, I don't know how it is now, but one of the most, that had the most volunteers for fire and ambulance, right? Only about 15 years ago, they started paying first responders now. But I've done a lot of volunteering. I was a firefighter, volunteer firefighter, ambulance. And I missed that because we had our community. We had the fire department. We would have, you know, 4th of July parades. I'm in with my drum. I play the drums, you know, I'm in the parade. But we were a community and we helped each other. And we knew each other, you know, and that's all we want. We want to live our lives. We want to raise our children. We want to be with our friends, our neighbors. You know, we don't want all this shit that's going on in the world.
Everybody's the same. I don't care what country you go to. Everybody wants the same thing.
Exactly.
And if the people all want this, why are our governments seeking something different? Because especially in a democratic or democracy, like the US calls itself, they don't listen to the will of the people. So, yeah.
America scares me. If I have to be honest, like I'm scared of the United States. Like going back scares me. You know, somebody mentioned Scott Ritter. I don't know that guy. You know, I don't know Scott Ritter, but to take someone's passport and not let them fly, you know, like it can do that to anybody, you know. In America, we used to joke about in the 1990s, we used to joke about how corrupt and disgusting Mexico was. And as a Mexican, it hurt my feelings. But then I grew up and I realized like, wait a minute, America has been more rotten than Mexico this entire time. And it might hurt some. I'm a Mexican American, citizen of both, and I can judge them both fairly. And I'm telling you right now, America is so corrupt. How is it possible that we can't figure out elections? We can't figure out illegal immigration. We can't figure out that we actually should love our country. So like, if you speak out against it now, it's so scary, man. It's scarier for me to say it. Yeah.
My father used to say the same thing, right? I'm Mexican American, right? And my father would say the same thing. He says the only difference between corruption in Mexico and corruption in the United States and Washington is that in Mexico, they're man enough to do it to your face. In Washington, it's done under the table. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity. I just wish, you know, that it wasn't like this, but I'm scared of America because what they did to this other American and what they're going to do to other Americans who want to leave, it's going to be so hard for Americans to travel and leave and have a life in Russia, have a life in anywhere else, man. It's going to be difficult. And I pray that I don't get caught up. If I ever visit the United States, I hope I don't have to get.
I've talked about it. You know, I've mentioned President Biden. I've mentioned Tony Blinken. I've mentioned some of the other government members on some of my YouTube videos, which, by the way, I am an American citizen and I do have the First Amendment right to say and criticize my government and also to say what's good about my government. But yeah, that crosses the back of my mind, especially with what happened recently with Scott Ritter. That if they can do that to him, they can do that to anybody. And who's to say that we are not labeled as persona non grata in the United States? Or they say, you know what? You're back in the States. You're not going anywhere else. You're going to stay right here.
Why do you think I haven't been back in the last 5 years? Why do you
I just
think I have? Why do you think I haven't left Russia in the last 5 years? I do all my
scary.
vacation and traveling in Russia.
But you're a citizen now of Russia, so you can come back. You can leave the U.S.
Yeah, but what Dan's saying about being scared about possibly
No,
going
no,
back.
no. I totally get it.
I have not been back in 5 years, and I will not be back until things change.
And you're
Until
sounding
things,
exactly what the people say that the Russians are sound. You know, Daniel, that's the strange thing. You just said, "Oh, I'm not going back until things change." But you have these crazy, I'm going to call them crazy Russians who left Russia thinking that they have it so bad here. The Russian people have no idea how blessed they are to have a leader that loves them, a government that will protect its borders, a government that will look after them more before anybody else. You just said something that these lunatic Russians who fled Russia say, "Oh, I'm not going back until things change." You're sounding like these lunatic Russians, but I feel like I can identify with what you said because I feel exactly the same. I cannot wait for things to change in America. If they don't, I'm never going back.
yeah, but
Absolutely. In
listen,
fact, go ahead, Daniel.
you can't fault anyone for wanting a better life. And if there are Russian people who have never left Russia, and maybe they have family friends who are living in Europe or in America or Canada, and things are going well for them, and they like to move there, that's great. That's great. Unfortunately, all right, let's talk about Europe. I was living there in 1989, 90, 91. I was there when the wall came down. Okay. I was in West and I got to visit East. That's when Europe was beautiful. Why? Because countries had their currency, countries had their borders, their culture, their way of life. I can travel all through Europe and it was safe. Now the European Union was made, that's the agenda. The European Union was made to take down Europe. Trust me when I tell you. You can't even go now. You can go to Europe, but it is so bad right now. I have friends in Ireland. I have friends in Italy. I have friends in Germany. And I can show you videos. They're being invaded. All right. You want to help somebody. If a government truly wants to help people, you have to help them in their country. You can't help them by bringing them to a country where it's different language, different religion, different culture, different way of life, and how they treat their women. It's totally different. The only thing you're doing by flooding these countries with all these refugees is you're destroying that country. That's the goal. That's the number one goal. You're flooding these countries to disrupt the culture and the way of life for those citizens. That's
Absolutely.
it. And why are they doing this? Why? Why are they doing this? That's the question.
They're not doing it to help you, me, or anyone else.
You're not a racist if you want your country to be safe and secure. If you want your borders closed and tight immigration, doesn't make you a racist. If somebody wants to come live in another country, like I'm living in Russia, you have to come here legally, go through the process, work and fit into their culture, not try to change their culture. That's the problem. Many of these refugees that are coming to these Western countries, they want to change that country, that culture to their way of life.
Yeah. And the first thing they say is like, "Hey, I'm here. I have rights. I have rights now." And guess what? I'm here in Russia and I have no rights whatsoever. I have the rights of a guest. And, when you're a guest in somebody else's house, you don't piss on their carpet. You know what I mean?
Right.
You respect the house of your host. And if I'm mature enough to know and to understand that, why can't I, as an American, expect that of immigrants to my home in the United States? Should be no different.
It's a done deal. I don't care anymore. Look, I'm in a really nice place, a really nice time in my life. I'm in my mid-30s. And I'm in a place where not even Russians can come bother me.
You youngster. You're a youngster. You're in your 30s. Oh man.
I know what I'm saying. Like, I tell people on the internet sometimes they say, "Oh yeah, you think you can come hurt me and come bother me?" I don't even think the Russians know where I'm at. Like, yes, my town is Ludanka. You can see it. Good luck traveling here. It takes so long to come. Nobody's ever gonna bother me. And I don't know. I could have never found this in America. They say you could have gone to Alaska. You could have gone there. You could, yeah, but Alaska doesn't have Baikal. Alaska doesn't have these Buryak and these Slavic people. I love, like Daniel said in the beginning, going outside and the little kids saying "Здравствуйте," and my friends saying like "Здравствуйте, brat." Yeah, what's up, drug? What are you guys doing? Let's go fishing. Ribalka. Yeah, давай, let's go. Like these people, if you make friends of them, they're the best friends, and the worst enemies, like we say in the American military. This is the true definition of no better friend and no worst enemy. Like this is the best. I'm so happy that I came here. I'm so happy that I stayed. And I want to say for anybody who's watching, who's thinking about making a new life, if you work hard for it, if you dedicate the time, in Russia, it's still possible. Doesn't matter your age. What matters is if you have the will to work and you can do it still. I'm telling you, I've met many people from outside of this country who are making their dreams come true here in Russia. And the beautiful thing is that we have a community here, three different people, three different parts of in their lives, three different stages, sorry, and we're making our dreams come true. I'm so blessed to be here. I'm so blessed to have my fiance. I'm so blessed that I'm going to get married in August. And I couldn't be happier, guys. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well,
Good, man. Happy for you, brother.
Yeah, I'm in my mid 50s, and the last 12 years in Russia, it's the happiest time in my life, man. Really. I mean,
Amazing.
A lot of people might say, "Oh, you're an American. You're spoiled. My dad left when I was 7. We had no money. I didn't travel. My first time on an airplane was going to Germany when I was a soldier. Like I didn't go to camps. We didn't have money. We didn't, So, yeah, I lived in America. I had a roof over my head. I had a house, but it wasn't anything, extravagant. I wasn't spoiled. I got my first but my father would go to the dumps and he would come back with a bike. Like I never had anything new until I was 12 years old. They finally, were able to buy me a new bike. But that was my life growing up. We would go to the dumps. We would pick out bicycle parts. We would put a bicycle together. We'd make things. We didn't go to the store and buy stuff, So, but the last 12 years of my life, I can honestly say I'm the happiest being in Moscow.
So happy for you.
I feel the same here. I have a great life. I came from a very small town, very small community in South Texas, Raymondville, town of 12,000 people. Small town dreams, small town mentality, very Mexican Tex-Mex culture to the hilt. To come to a city, 18 million people, just blows my mind.
Doesn't feel like that though.
Orderly.
Right?
It doesn't feel like
it doesn't feel like
18
that.
18 million people.
Right. I don't feel like I'm in a huge city when I'm in Moscow.
You don't. It's so hard to explain.
Yeah.
You've got to come here and experience it for yourself. You really do. And I feel so calm, so peaceful. I'm so proud to say that I live in Russia. I am very proud that there is a president of Russia that cares about its citizens, cares about the security and the well-being of not only its citizens, but its guests as well. And I feel completely safe here. And not only that, I feel free to travel, free to speak my mind, free as a bird, more free than I would feel if I were back in the States. Because in the States, there is a real possibility that the FBI could show up at your door and knock on the door and say, "We need to talk about something you posted on, Twitter or X or something
Game
like
over.
that."
It's not. They knock
it's
and
just,
say, "Hello, game over for you,"
Yeah.
and you disappear and you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the thing that also, like, as a veteran, that bothers me, is that wait a minute. You're not gonna read into what I've done. I love my country. I put in the time. Now I'm in another country, but now you want to delete who I am, and it's totally possible. As we're talking about it here, it's the Twilight Zone. It's truly the upside down world. And I wanted to tell you guys, when you're talking about Moscow, I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what? I don't live there, but they're right. It didn't feel like a huge city. And the thing that I like about Moscow is that it's so well designed that there's people everywhere, not everywhere at the same time. It feels like Moscow's so well designed in that way. I know other cities where there's too much traffic in one place. Yes, there's a lot of people in Moscow, but it never felt like too many people in one area. I guess that's what I could say is what I felt.
Oh, it's a very
Yeah.
green city. It's full of parks. Today, I took my daughter to a beautiful area where I played beach volleyball. You don't even feel like you're in a city, and you go into a lot of these parks, and you feel like you're in the oblast, in the suburbs.
15-minute walk from here, and I'm in a forest park.
Yeah,
and you don't hear the traffic.
yeah.
You just hear the birds and the squirrels, and it's just beautiful.
So somebody asked, Dixis, I think, asked, is it okay to celebrate 4th of July in Russia?
You can do whatever you want in Russia. Man,
We did
Sure.
it last year.
Why not?
We had there's a group called Americans in Russia, and they held a 4th of July party last year, and I went with Expat American.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we went, and there were people from Germany, journalists from all over the world were there, and we celebrated 4th of July, and we're going to do it again this year.
Nice.
There's one thing that I want to bring up when you were talking about Dan earlier. All three of us on this live have at one time taken the same oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And let me ask both Daniels, did that oath have an expiration date? No, it doesn't.
No.
You swore it for life. So I'm still sworn to that oath that I took when I first joined the DPS. And how can you call me a traitor when I'm still sworn to that oath? And by speaking my mind, by showing the truth, by helping to change the narrative of what propaganda has done to the West, I am upholding my oath. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Linda Ortiz wrote, the U.S. is willing to sacrifice the planet in order to keep its hegemony.
Hegemony.
Yeah, hegemony.
Hegemony.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Hegemony.
Wait a minute. Anyways, no matter how you read it, you don't talk right English anyway. You don't talk that real English, Daniel. You talk that East Coast stuff.
Well, when I still have a problem at 56, 55 years old. When I lost you guys. Hold on. Here we go. When I was in 7th and 8th grade, I had a speech therapist, and I had problems with pronunciation of certain words, like, and that word right now, I was having a problem with it to pronounce it. So I still have problems, but I'm much better now, thanks to her help.
Nice. I was just trying to let the viewers know that comparing all of our accents, we sound way different.
Well,
because in Russia there is no accents. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's like no real dialects in Russia. There's different languages, like different regions, but say somebody in Germany from the north, if he goes to Bayern, they're gonna have way different German. So in America, you're like, oh yeah, we're going down yonder, we're gonna get the damn trek going. Like, what the hell is that? You know, it doesn't happen in Russia.
Yeah.
Well, we got a question.
No, actually, I just want to give a shout out to Kenneth here for the $4.99. What is that? Francs? Pounds?
Looks like pounds.
South African nations which are Christian are being forced by the UK to take in Afghans and Muslims. Check what Botswana, Angola, and Namibia said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is this forced immigration that is occurring in Europe, and it's very similar because I feel that the same forces that are behind this are the same forces that are behind this mass immigration on the South Texas border. Same thing. Yeah, and thank you for that, Kenneth. Appreciate it.
You know, I think many Americans are waking up after these last 2 or 3 years. I really think a lot have woken up. But, you know, I feel maybe Americans are just too laxed. Like they're not, you know, I see, you know, Trump when he speaks, man, it's packed, right? And you have this MAGA and a lot of, you know, support for Trump, and a lot of people are coming out, but I still think, you know, more needs to be done. More Americans really need to, you know, to get out and vote, you know, and what, demonstrate, or what, you know, like they sometimes I think maybe just they feel like somebody else is going to take care of it, or somebody else.
Not only that, but to me, Americans have been pacified. Very, very passive culture in America. And as someone who's worked in law enforcement, you can understand this, because policeman moves in and you're trying to maybe move a crowd back. And you'll say, step back, please, step back, step back. 85% of the people immediately move back. And then you've got 10% that kind of lag around a little bit to see, you know, are you really serious? You really want me to move it? Yes, I want you to move back. And then they kind of move back a little bit more. And then you have about 5% of the people that are just absolutely, I'm not moving till you come over here and you make me move. And this represents basically the population of the United States. You have 85% of the people that just, you know, the government says something, that's the way it is, no problem. I got it. And you've got, but
change or charge battery.
Oh, he's gone because the battery died. You know, when I joined the United States Marine Corps, my generation was fighting. Okay, I remember when I went to go sign up, it felt like my entire generation was there. We were all young men, and I felt like it was the time of old when just men wanted to do something. And
Right.
I understand these wars, perhaps they were fabricated. Let's just say they were fabricated, but still, there were still men who believed in the fighting for yourself, for your country, and all these things. You know, even if they lied to us, it still felt like a fighting nation. Now, you know, you see the difference in these young people. Now it's going to be really hard to have a military, and you know, we're two veterans here. It does say the title, American Vets in Russia. The reality is that America is not a fighting nation. Like, it's not a nation of men. This is no longer a nation that has men. I made a video about it, the difference between a Russian male and an American male. And Eddie's completely right. Like, we've been pacified, but we've also been turned into, I would say, the first bad word of the life, perhaps. And a lot of people have never heard me curse, because I don't like doing it on video, but like, No, I'm not gonna say a bad word. We're just turning into cowards. We've turned our kids, our men into cowards, and our women into more men. Like it's
Well,
completely reversed in America. It's a problem.
yeah.
Yeah, the feminist movement was all about that. Was all about, excuse me, increasing testosterone among women.
It's insane. It's insane.
Well,
It's
it's
insane.
agenda. It's the agenda. You know, I did not want my children going to school in America because I know what they're doing to the children in schools. You know, and they're grooming children. They're confusing them. I mean, look at the kids now that are 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 20. You know, I feel so sad, you know, and a lot of them, you know, they're going to university and they're getting these degrees that are worthless, and they have these 50, 75, $100,000 loans that they can't pay off, and they can't find a job. Everything is a business. Universities, the school system, the pharmaceutical industry, everything is a business.
Everything really is.
It is.
Thank you, William Nipper. Says he is planning on visiting Russia soon, mainly Moscow and Siberia.
Yeah, hopefully.
Welcome, man.
Nice.
You know, I think that people should visit for sure Moscow as I consider St. Petersburg a European city, but I consider Moscow a Russian city. It is the most beautiful Russian city, and I think St. Petersburg is the most beautiful European city because I was in St. Petersburg, and it just seemed like they grabbed everything from Europe and put it into one place, which was obviously the point that Peter the Great wanted to do. But Moscow is a Russian city, and it captured the soul of Russia, and it put it there. And I'm gonna say Irkutsk, which he wants to visit. Hopefully, he does. The soul of Siberia is captured, and it's put in Irkutsk. These three cities are a beautiful representation of what Russia is. You have the European Russia, you have the Russian Russia, and you have the Siberian Russia, because there is no Russia without Siberia. And somebody said, oh, why didn't it's interesting that Dan went to a small town in Siberia. To me, I feel that in the future, like my kids and my kids' kids, I hope they're proud to be from Siberia. You know, saying I'm Siberian means something to me, man. You know, I'm Mexican American, but being Siberian is the best for me now. I'm a Mexican American Siberian. Yeah.
Yeah. So one guy wrote here, he said, my girlfriend is Russian and she says there are accents from different regions. My wife is from the Urals, right? She's about an hour and a half from Yekaterinburg. She was born and raised in a small city, small town. But, you know, I find that people from Yekaterinburg, man, they speak so fast. And like, I can't understand them at all. You know, I have to ask them, please speak slower. But yeah, he said his girlfriend is Russian and there are accents from different regions. Interesting.
Yeah, well, every Russian that I talk to, they say they pronounce some words differently, like with one letter. But what's interesting is that Ksenia is from Irkutsk and she goes to Moscow like 5,000 kilometers, and they could understand each other. If you go to Germany or if you go to England and you cross the street, you're talking to a whole nother language. Happens in Mexico. There is different dialects of Russian, which we'll probably find in Ukraine. But for the most part, the Russians need to understand when we're talking. If I go to like Louisiana and they're talking that Cajun, it's like, come on now, it's very different, guys. Very different.
I went to basic training in Kentucky, and I went into a restaurant.
They make fun of you.
Listen, we went. My family. I was there 3 months, and then the family was able to come and visit because I had another 3 months. We went out to get lunch. We went to a restaurant that makes pizza. And they were looking at me like two heads. I said, yeah, we'll take a pie. We'll take a pie. And she's like, we don't have pies, sir. She thought like I said, no, like a pizza in New York, Long Island, you know, it's a pie. You call it pizza, 8 slices, it's a pie. I'm like, yeah, we'll have a pie, please. And she's looking at me, it's like, well, we don't have pies here. We make, pizza. We had to order it by the slice. Not even couldn't even order a pie.
Yeah. And talking about diversity here in Russia, one of the things that happened to me the other day, you meet people here in Russia and they'll either say "Здравствуйте" or they can even say "Salam alaikum" to you, especially to me because I look a little more Caucasian. Maybe you too, Dan. And that may happen, but I think that's wonderful, man. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Here's this Charles says, how is the weather in Moscow in November? I only have a few vacation days. I can use Thanksgiving holiday to go there for a week. I am going to tell you, if you come here in November, this is probably the darkest time in Moscow. I would not recommend you come in November. How about you, Daniel? What do you think?
Nope.
Well, look, for the most part, Siberia, I would say, has more sun. It's not so gray. I know St. Petersburg and Moscow are a little bit gray, but November is not so bad. Yes, it's only about, it's starting to get cold, but for the most part, you're looking at 1 degree to 10 degrees, which is fairly warm for us. But it's not going to be like raining. It's not going to be gray. The best months to come is either February, when the lake is completely frozen and you could drive a buhanka on Lake Baikal, or come in the summer where you can swim in Lake Baikal. Either you want to ice skate or drive on the lake, or enjoy and swim. So don't come in November if you're not used to the cold, though.
Yeah, no, November in Moscow, would not recommend. No. May, June, July, August, September, October, the latest October. But
when does winter start in Moscow there? I mean, when does winter start in Moscow?
When you say winter, do you mean like snow and...
Yeah, snow and frozen lakes.
Well, this last November was rain for 3 weeks with depressing skies.
Hell no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At night, I'm dropping vitamin D like it's candy, man. Vitamin D and magnesium together. Every night.
This is why, if you're watching right now, do not go and visit Moscow in November. Like, seriously.
No.
Winter in Siberia, we have sun. The sun is out. Yes, there's snow, but we dress up so good. Guys, you two need to come visit the lake. In the future, come visit the lake, please.
Would love to. Absolutely.
Absolutely. If somebody was asked me what I don't like about Moscow, that's it. It's because in Long Island, we have summer, we have fall, beautiful September, October. You got the Levi's on, you're wearing a sweater, and you're going and you're picking pumpkins, we have all like vineyards and farms and stuff. Beautiful weather. Then November, December, it's getting cold. You have sun, snow. Moscow, summer, shit weather, a little bit of winter, shit weather, and then summer. It's like so. You see me now. When summer's here, I'm out. I don't care. I'm out walking. I just have to be out in the sun because in the winter we don't have it. And I'm like dropping magnesium with vitamin D every night throughout the winter, just to keep me happy, because
ridiculous.
The lack of sun, the lack of vitamin D, man, it makes you can be sad. It makes your body hurt. It
makes you depressed. Yeah.
Right. But with vitamin D, you have to take magnesium.
If you're coming to Moscow for the first time,
not November,
I would say June, July, August, maybe September. The first part of September. But yeah.
We had a nice last September, October. We had nice weather.
Yeah, but it could be hit or miss. You never know.
It could be, but the last fall, we had a fall. It was nice, September, October, and then November came, and that was it.
Oh, this question's awesome about Putin. This is something that I'm so scared to know what happens after Putin, and I'm not even Russian.
I don't even want to talk about this, please.
No, we need to talk about it. Listen, I talk about it
I
with
hope he
Senya.
lives forever. I hope he lives forever.
Isn't it crazy? Look, I told Senya, I said, Senya,
Long
what
live
do you
Putin.
feel? I
Amen.
said, what do you feel will happen after him? And she says, oh, I don't even want to know because he make our country. She's born in the Soviet Union. She saw what came after the Soviet Union. You know, her father was not paid for months. They had to wait with chips. And even back then, wait in line for everything. And I said, what do you mean he built the country? She says, look, I remember there was not a country and then there was a country. So there was a country named Russia, but for the people, it didn't exist. And she's seen the country grow up with Putin, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But like, to answer Brian, I think after him, they better start preparing the man now. They need to start now with this guy.
My feeling is that they, you know, they have someone that's pro-Russian, you know, the same, you know, but you know, guys, I don't even want to talk about that, to be honest with you, man. It's
sad. It's scary for me.
You know, yeah. If you guys ask me if there was one person in this world you would like to have lunch with, who would it be? Me?
Yeah.
President Putin. You
Absolutely.
know, listen, every country has its problems. Every country has its corruption, right? But what people need to understand with America, the corruption is international. That's the problem. Many countries have corruption. It's within their borders, or it might leak over to another country that borders them, right? America's corruption is international. The WHO, the WTO, NATO. I mean, how many organizations do I have to name that America controls? So the corruption with America, it's worldwide. That's a problem. That's a big problem.
What a question, man.
I don't even want, my wife and I, the last 12 years, we just think he's going to live forever.
That's wishful.
Great
All
question.
right.
Great question.
Yeah. Why you vets living in Russia? I want to know, please.
I'll answer that question.
Yeah.
But Putin is so great. I was in St. Petersburg and I told Senya, I said, you know what? They should name this city St. Putinburg because he was born here and he's just amazing. You know, Peter the Great, he had his run. Yes, he made the city, but Putin was actually born there. So it's more significant if they name it St. Putinburg.
Oh, man.
Just maybe.
Yeah, you know, the American people were fooled. The American people, when it came to the president, I don't know. Well, all right, I won't go there. Forget it. I won't go there.
I want to answer a question. MTM asks, when did you already return from Yerevan? Did you fly to Armenia for a weekend or for a week? I flew to Yerevan, Armenia for 8 hours.
My man.
This is a one-day trip. Left early in the morning and was on the ground for about 8 hours. I made a little video about it. Go to my channel. You'll see it. That was the last video I made. And came back. And I did this for a border run because you have a Russian visa, whether a tourist or a private visa for 3 years, you can only stay in Russia for up to 180 days. You have to step out of the country, step back in to reset your 180 days. So in a nutshell, that's why.
It's actually a good visa, by the way. If you're watching and you're an American, I think that America has the best Russian visa option.
It does.
Other countries can only stay up for 15 days, European maybe like 3 months. Americans, if you want to visit Russia, do it now. Get your visa now. I'm offering free consultation. Like I will show you how you do it. I've made a video in the past. You don't need to pay anybody to teach you how to do it. You just have to pay the people who is going to process it, because right now it's a little bit difficult to get a hold of the consulate in America. So if you want to visit Russia and you're an American, you have the best visa, 6 months without having to leave. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and it's the best value of any visa that you can get. And this is because of a special treaty between the U.S. and Russia that's still in effect today. So if you're planning to, or thinking of, or dreaming of that maybe one day you would like to visit Russia, get your Russian visa now while you can.
Yeah.
To change in the future.
Yeah. You want to say hello? My daughter's here.
Hey, bring her on.
Come on.
You're muted. Oh, there you go.
I think people would be interested in hearing her Russian and her English. It would be really cool to hear her. Hi.
So, can you speak a little Russian?
Привет, меня зовут Саша, я из России.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And what are your hobbies? Or what do you do?
In Russian?
In Russian.
У меня хобби волейбол.
No, don't say where.
Классический.
So she's playing at a professional school for classic volleyball. It's and my son too. My son's actually playing at a professional club for classic volleyball. So talk about a little bit about Moscow. What do you like about Moscow?
Well, it's really beautiful here. A lot of people that are nice.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the birds are chirping.
The birds are chirping.
Nature's beautiful.
Nature's beautiful.
It's pretty quiet.
Yep. We're in a big city, but it's you don't feel like it. And where we went today, so beautiful, so beautiful. Really.
What is
I
her?
think
What is she? What language does she like to speak more? English or Russian?
English.
What?
Yeah.
But that's interesting. That's so interesting. When I growing up with my mom speaking Spanish at home, I loved speaking English because we're in the streets. I have all my friends in English, and but aren't all your friends speaking to you in Russian?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, at school it's Russian. With her friends, it's Russian. The volleyball team, everything is Russian. Yeah, but when she's home, it's it's funny because when she plays with her brother, I like to listen sometimes to see, are they playing, are they speaking in English or in Russian? So sometimes it's Russian, but mainly it's English.
It's like, давай play this game.
Right.
It's like we first say one word in Russian and 2 words in English.
It's the equivalent of what we call Spanglish. This is like
Spanglish, right?
Ranglish.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, but a lot of it has to do with because when they were young, I was home a lot, and my wife was traveling with work. So there was always English with me.
Yeah.
When from 0 to like 5, 0 to 6 years old, you don't want them. You want them to be fluent, bilingual with no accent. So I only spoke English, and my wife only spoke Russian.
Oh, that's the dream. I'm working, because I usually speak Spanish and English equally because my mother is only Spanish. All my family is only Spanish. That's going to be the hard part for me is choosing Spanish or English. But I told Ksenia that I will do Spanish at the house, and I will speak English to Ksenia, and then the kid will learn Russian in Russia, and hopefully it works out this good because she's got a brilliant accent in both. This is absolutely the optimal way of doing it. This is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but for parents that when children have parents that have different native tongue, it's best to just speak. Each parent speaks their native tongue to their child from like 0 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, so you train their ears, and then they'll be fully bilingual, and they won't have an accent.
This is how I learned Spanish, because my parents spoke Spanish to each other,
Mm.
and that's how I learned Spanish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That was awesome. You know,
Bye-bye.
this Daniel, this is so important for people like me right now, because I don't know if Eddie's trying to have more kids, but like for me, when I see this, I'm like, okay, it's totally possible to raise a child in like a multi-language thing.
Yeah, of course. It's the best.
Yeah.
No, it's the best. Look, my grandparents came from Italy over to America, right, in the 20s, 1920s. And the problem, what they did is they wanted their children in America, they wanted them to speak English and learn English. So they never spoke Italian, right? They just wanted them to go to school, learn English at home, and just, you know, but yeah, children can learn multiple languages at the same time.
I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. Don't deprive your children from that. Being bilingual, speaking two languages, it's so healthy for your brain, for you physically, it's very healthy, you know. But the opportunities of being bilingual, Russian and English, you know, it's the opportunities are much more opportunities. But
I'm gonna have to.
Look, I met the gentleman, the director of Mercedes-Benz, about 7 years ago at a fitness club. He's German, his wife's Russian. The daughter was going to an international school learning English. Mom was speaking Russian. She's learning English at school. Dad's speaking German. He told me, Dan, and when he told me, it happened a month before that. So about 7 years ago, his daughter was 4. He's like, 4 years I'm speaking German to my daughter. She's answering me in English and Russian. I'm like, she's not learning. That's it. I'm going to give up. Well, no. It's a process. And the children, they go through a process. So they're just trying to understand. Well, she was fluent in German. A month before he met me, she finally was speaking German with him. She understood everything in German, and she was speaking German.
That's my dream.
But for 4 years, only answering him in either Russian or in English. But children can learn many languages.
Absolutely. Kenneth keeps asking this question: how can I tell a person from Chechnya and an ethnic Russian? I knew a bit recently that Kardov is Chechen. And my answer to this is, it doesn't matter. Here in Russia, they're Russian, period. Ethnicity is second to the fact that everyone here, if they hold a Russian passport, obviously is Russian. So I look at various different ethnic people, and it just doesn't enter my mind of where they could be from. To me, they're all Russian. What do you say, Daniel?
So the thing for where I live here, we have a lot of foreigners from the old Soviet countries, because we have Uzbeks, we have Tajiks, we have Kyrgyz people. I could usually tell them apart from the Chechens, because I don't know, like if you live long enough here, you know that somebody's from Chechnya or Dagestan from the way their face is. They look, if you look at the UFC, you know, they look a lot like Khabib and Islam. They look just Chechen. But like Eddie said, they don't really, especially now, you wouldn't be able to tell how they act that they're different, because everybody right now is in a very high Russian spirit, I would say. Because I remember 2022 and 2024, like the Russian pride is so out there. So you shouldn't care how people look, but if you want to know what they look like, Google Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's from Dagestan. Look up this Kamzat. He's from Chechnya. You will tell that they shave their mustache and they grow a beard. This is usually the Muslim community in Russia. Okay.
Yeah,
Guys,
absolutely.
I'm gonna have to end soon because I need to go to the train station to pick up my son.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
actually,
sign off
we
now.
are nearing right about 2 hours on this live. Thank you, guys. We have 339 that I see in the live. Thank you so much if you've been with us this long. And I think it's been an awesome
It went
live.
fast. 2
Yeah,
hours.
yeah. And before we leave, before you guys leave, if you are not subscribed to my channel, subscribe. If you, how about the Daniel at Moscow Settlers and Wild Siberia? Also, down in the show notes, there are 2 links to 2 recent videos that Daniel and I collaborated on. And we're visited Victory Park here in Moscow to see the NATO tank exhibition that we really didn't even talk about in this live. But go watch those 2 videos and support Daniel Bosworth's channel at Moscow Settlers. Anything else we have for
Eddie, we'll have to
Well,
take a trip to visit Dan and do a video.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to
if
it.
you guys come, you will love it. I just want to say thank you. We should do this more often. For the people who watched, just know that we're no different than you guys. If you ever want to come here, we already have a community here, and you're more than welcome to join it. I want to say thank you to all the Russian viewers and all non-Russian viewers, obviously, because we are the community that's going to make a difference in the future. And a special thanks for anybody who's watching from Serbia. I love you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks to everyone.
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
say we're not traitors. We just chose to move to a country to raise our children and to be in a country that we can live and work and be safe. Nothing wrong with that. And yeah, thank you for staying with us for 2 hours.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. We will do this again, hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah.
So enjoy the rest of your day. If this is the first time that you're joining us on our live, please support us with a like and a share and a subscribe. Blessings to everyone from Moscow, Russia, and Siberia. Пока.
Siberia, we're coming.
Bye, bros.
We're coming.
Bye-bye.
Пока, пока.